Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
It's Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and save an additional $1,000 when you buy 4 select LG major appliances. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt Max 5 amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt Max tool. Get the job done for less at Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 9/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning in to the program. It's Wednesday, September the 17th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams, he's produced the program. Let's get it going. If you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 86-26. So how about those Blue Jays? Retained their 5-game lead over the New York Yankees. 6-5 victory in Tampa last night. They tried to give it away, but they hung on to win. It's really difficult to, it was a wild ball game, but it's hard to watch the big leaguers play in that AAA park. I mean, you got the mesh at the outfield fence, having to go to crew chief reviews to see if a ball is actually over the fence. And at one point, there was a home run given, but at the exact same time, the umpire said it was both fan interference and a home run. It can only be one or the other. So, wild times. Anyway, for golf fans, and of course the season winding down here as the temperatures begin to cool, but the best week of the year, just my personal opinion, in the world of golf is when the Ryder Cup comes around. And that's next weekend. And to talk about wild, it will be woolly at Bethpage Black in New York for the Ryder Cup between the Americans and the Europeans. But it was on this date, 1977, at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's. The US won the Ryder Cup 12.5 to 7.5. It was the last time Great Britain and Ireland competed for the Ryder Cup. And of course, now it's the all of Europe, the entirety of Europe. Anyway, plenty of emails, feedback, commentary, questions, concerns come from folks in CBN, Conception Bay North, and of course all about the wildfires. So a couple of things. You know, they're talking about the immediacy and the need for representation from individual communities on this rebuild committee, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And also, and this is repeated email after email, is they would like to see and hear some public acknowledgement of whether or not there's actually active investigations in the possibility of these fires being caused by arson. That's not a big ask. I mean, it doesn't have to divulge any secret or private information or reveal any of the circumstances involving the investigation itself, but people keep asking about it. And then a couple of residents have reached out to me talking about the stories when we knew, and people have been taken to task about the looting. You know, the absolute nuisances that were looting people's private property, robbing ATVs and stuff while they were displaced and evacuated from their homes. Just simply disgraceful. There's still plenty of reports, and people are on pins and needles, about the possibility for some of this stealing and break-ins to continue in the community. So they point to a couple of areas of concern. There was a massive police presence when we first found out that the looting was ongoing, and they'd like to see some of that extended while they still hear the rumbles in their community. Some of it might be just based on, you know, baked-in worries because of the stories that we've heard and the conversations coming from law enforcement. That, in addition to the fact that they point to the spotty cell phone coverage coverage. And I think that's a province-wide conversation. But if you find yourself in danger and the go-to is to call 911, but the spotty cell phone coverage might not allow that call to go out, then of course that's obviously a problem. So those couple of things on the wildfires and anything to do with wildfires and rebuilding, let's talk about it. In addition to that, I told these volunteer firefighters, members of ground search and rescue crews, who have been told they're getting a one-time honorarium of $500. Like I said yesterday, it feels kind of low to me. I mean, we even hear reports from volunteer firefighters saying, look, I use my own vehicle to travel 80 kilometers a day each way to be part of fighting these fires. And, you know, giving up vacation days and missing time from work, and that's, of course, not paid time. So it does feel low. Now, I don't know what the right number could or should be, but plenty of them have reached out to me and said, look, I don't want to kick up a stink because I didn't volunteer to be a firefighter to get paid, but these were extraordinary circumstances, and I completely understand. I mean, when you hear some of the stories from some of these firefighters and ground search and rescue crews on the ground, they're horrific. You know, people have been doing these things for decades, have never seen the like. And so if you want to take that on, we can do exactly that here this morning. Okay. There is what they call a peaceful protest. This morning is going on right now. And this is what they call the Labrador Coalition for Search and Rescue and the FFAW. They're joining forces on this front. So it's at the Coast Guard Marine Rescue Sub-Centre, Southside Road. And, of course, commemorates the 4-year anniversary of the loss of the FV Island Lady. And so, of course, we mourn the loss of Mark Jenkins, Joey Russell. So the conversation there should not be on the back burner. We know that when we talk about even things like Burton Winters and the miscommunication, whose responsibility or jurisdiction was it to be on ground versus on the ice or on the ocean? But the fact of the matter is, the lack of Coast Guard presence in Labrador is unbelievable. Not even a quick or fast rescue craft available in Labrador. So, yeah, they're absolutely right. And we should indeed keep talking about these things. Not just the loss of these two fishermen out of St. Mary's, Labrador, but the whole concept of the next time we're going to need coast and rescue services in Labrador for search, hopefully not just for recovery. So, if anyone who's in Labrador has been thinking about and talking about these things, we absolutely should be talking about it. You know, it was galling all these years ago when there was a committee of parliamentarians talking about search and rescue, the concept of Labrador and the lack of coverage by the Coast Guard. And, you know, we heard comments coming from someone like Cheryl Gallant saying, well, what about the Great Lakes? I mean, it's just an absolutely obtuse thing to say when we talk about the absolute treacherous conditions both on the ground and on the water off the coast of Labrador. So for the folks there, we're with you here this morning. Okay, let's keep going. So it was absolutely a good thing when the province announced that they were trying a pilot program for nurse practitioners to be able to bill MCP. So they, of course, treating them as independent contractors. There was also money to cover equipment, clinic space, supplies, administrative support for 1,950 hours of service per year, including 1,660 hours of direct patient care. This request coming from the Newfoundland Labrador Medical Association is not new. It's about similar coverage for their overhead expenses. So now that this pilot program has been launched, the NLMA, They want the same thing. They want that type of administrative coverage, support from the province. Talk about the level of respect. Here's one of the quotes coming from Dr. Cynthia Slade, president at the NLMA. We want to feel respected. We want to feel appreciated. And this decision regarding, not extending this benefit to us has made us feel really unappreciated. This was part of the conversation for a long time when we talked about adding primary care physicians to the province's system and some of the incentives to work in rural, remote parts of the province, but the overhead costs, even when they got through the negotiation with how they get paid into this blended capitation model, the overhead costs were not part of that discussion, but now, of course, and predictably they are. I think I even said here on the show, when the nurse practitioner pilot was launched, that it's only a matter of time before the doctors are looking for the same thing because they have in the past. And it was ignored. And so whether or not Dr. Slade or anyone else in the medical community on this front would like to come on, we can do it. There's also the concept of a physician's assistant who could be part of the fold and what they might be able to do to free up doctors to do what they do best, and that's care for patients versus the hours of paperwork they have to entertain day in and day out. What do you think? All right. So I'm not going to cover all of the pledges made by any politician or party in detail every single day. We'll highlight a couple every single day, though, so we can provoke conversation. In the world of healthcare, Tony Wakeham, leader of the PCs, made a pretty sweeping announcement yesterday. A reference to 163,000 people without a family doctor. I don't even know if that's the accurate number. I mean, government gives us one number, the NLM gives us one number, politicians give us another number, but anyway, there's a ton of people without it. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,500 people on a waiting list for an MRI. So talk about adopt the recommendation of the Registered Nurses Union to launch a province-wide program that brings RNs and nurse practitioners into rural, remote and underserved communities. Long part of the conversation. Cover medical travel costs for patients when they must travel for essential care and provide free parking at all healthcare facilities. It's even part of the Canada Health Act about you cannot charge, even though we have plenty of for-fee medicine cropping up across the country, and it's long been part of it. Whether you go to a chiropractor or go to the dentist, for instance. Okay. Talk about buying 4 new MRI machines. They've costed that out to be about $4.4 million. Service Labrador, Grand Falls, Windsor, Burin Peninsula, and a fourth location that is yet to be determined. Fair enough. I mean, there's a ton of people waiting for an MRI, but of course, in addition to buying the equipment, we have to have the technicians, because that's been a problem here for a long time in the province. And I know Mr. Wakeham spoke to that. Make sure anyone can see a nurse practitioner for free. No strings attached. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why we're trying to pilot program with the nurse practitioners. Why not just increase access to primary care by allowing a nurse practitioner to simply bill MCP for their services? I'm into it. There was talk about a different strategy to train and recruit, retain more healthcare professionals. They're actually talking about expanding the nursing school at MUN by 50 spaces. Expanding the medical school, no seats there. I think there's 80 seats at MUN's medical school, 65 for people from this province at this moment in time. Double the nurse practitioner program. And then all sorts of things regarding paid work terms. Makes sense to me. You want to take it on, we can do it. Couple of things now on the NDP side. So we've heard their announcement. They were way out in front of other parties regarding announcing what they pledged to do if they had the ability and authority to do so. But one such item yesterday from Jim Dinn, leader of the party, was regarding campaign finance reform. They pledged all kinds of other things, but I'm going to latch onto this one for a second. Mr. Dinn says they would ban corporate and union political donations, establish a personal donation cap of $750 here in the province. Talking about being transparent. Every party should be running on this. They simply should. You know as well as I do. Every time there's a big government contract let, many people will go right down the campaign finance hole and say, well, of course they got the contract. Look how much they donated to this party or that party. Whether or not it actually is the reality that you buy access to cabinet ministers and buy access to the 8th floor, even if it's not the facts of the matter, if with every single contract out the door, that's what a lot of people think. And plus, it's just the right thing to do. So I know the big parties rely on the generosity of their donors, but for me and you, who are not politicians, who cares? If it makes your life more difficult to have to go and bang on doors and bring forward pragmatic policies and work a bit harder, well, that's so be it. Because it's the wild, wild west in campaign finance in this province, and we really should shore up some of those loopholes. I would think it's a political victory for all the parties to do the exact same thing. Because people don't think it's fair. The whole concept of the wealth get access. The biggest donors get access. The biggest donor gets contracts. And again, whether or not it's true, the perception is out there. It's very real. So they should all run on something like that. What do you think? Okay. And, of course, the Liberals, with several announcements out there, but they went to Labrador yesterday to talk about the Upper Churchill Memorandum of Understanding, creating what they call a Churchill Transformation Readiness Strategy for Labrador. All right, so anything inside the MOU is absolutely up for conversation here today. And I would think, similar to I'm not saying the Muskrat Falls project is anything like what we're talking about here with the Upper and Gull Island. But the concerns coming from Labrador regarding Muskrat were probably a lot different than what we heard here on the island. And I'm not to generalize, but on the island there was a lot of talk about cost to build and then cost for the ratepayer. In Labrador, plenty of concerns about the environment, maybe much more so, again, not for 100% of anybody living in Labrador or on the island, but their environmental concerns were real. One of the keys for Labrador here, so we hear from people in Labrador, is that the quadrupling of the Labrador recall block is a big deal. They rely on economic drivers such as mining, which consumes copious amounts of power. So, of course, they might have a little different view on this front than people on the island, but we can take it on from any angle, period. One thing lost in the conversation, for the most part, I brought it up a couple of times, is people talk about Quebec's authority to make decisions regarding whether or not to develop Gull. I'm not so sure there's much of a reason to think they won't. I think that's what they wanted when they came cap in hand, we'll say, to engage this conversation. But I'm not so sure it's been rectified or dealt with in any real form or fashion regarding the Innu Nation. Whether people like it or not, Gull will not proceed unless the Innu Nation is on side. It's just the way it works. The Innu Nation has said that there will be no such development at Gull Island unless they're made whole. And that's in reference to the most recent $5.2 billion quote-unquote rate mitigation package that was given to the Muskrat Falls project. And of course, $3.2 billion from Hibernia-related revenue, another $1 billion loan, and another $1 billion federal loan guarantee. So they say that jeopardizes their forecasted revenues to the tune of about $1 billion. So they say no Gull unless that is taken care of. I haven't heard it being taken care of, but that should be part of the conversation. What do you think? Oh, this one just popped in my head. Look, yet another scam should be making people aware, and this should be a giant red flag if you get this type of call. But there are people that are impersonating provincial government employees. They're calling people at home looking for personal bank information, and if you give it to them, they say they're going to give you money. Obviously, that's a scam, so please don't fall for it. All right, let's keep going. A couple of quick ones. So, the Education Accord. The co-chairs, Drs. Goodenow and Burke, they are hoping the credibility is not tarnished because of the revelation that 15 citations in the report are completely fictional. And I hope they actually get what they want here, that we have to take this serious and implement some of the great recommendations that are in the Education Accord. Not to say I agree with every single thing, but they're pointing the finger of blame at whoever's working inside the provincial government to edit the final report and release it. Can we not figure out exactly what happened here? You know, people will continue to lean in on artificial intelligence is partly to blame here. And I have no reason to believe that the report itself was written by AI or a chatbot or a large language model. But some of those fictional footnotes and citations, it feels like they might be. So can someone in the government, someone in the Department of Education, give us an idea of exactly what happened? Someone must know. You know, it's not like under the cover of darkness, someone broke into the Confederation building late at night to put these fake citations in the report. So let's try to figure out exactly what's going on here. A couple of inflation numbers. As we wait for the Bank of Canada's decision today about interest rates, inflation up 1.9% in August versus 1.7% the month prior. So people refer to economists, and of course you ask 10 economists their opinion to get 10 different ones. So they're calling this one a low drama affair, anticipating the bank to cut 25 basis points from the interest rate. Here's the issue. We can talk about gasoline prices. They're on a downward trend, but not going down as quick as they were a year prior. It's the bloody grocery inflation, 3.5% in August compared to the same period last year. Meat up 7.2%. And pricier fresh and frozen beef and processed meat all contributing to higher inflation. Fresh fruit prices actually down 1.1% year over year, but that's basically a price decline for things like grapes and berries apparently. But food inflation, grocery inflation, 3.5%. Where are the levers to be pulled there? Because it's crushing all of us. All right, what do we got here? Oh, a couple of quick ones. Yet another story out there about how our youth, especially youth who might feel isolated and lonely and maybe loners, and how they're interacting with artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. So we talked about the fact that there's a lawsuit now has been filed about these months-long interaction with ChatGPT by a young person who was feeling suicidal ideations, and back and forth and having these ideations affirmed by artificial intelligence. And what was the end result? Died by suicide. And this one here is about AI-induced psychosis and being convinced by a artificial intelligence chatbot about all sorts of bizarre things. So, look, people are going to be curious, especially the country's youth, about how artificial intelligence works. And they're probably using it way too much regarding their schoolwork. But it's worth having a conversation with our kids about just what they're using these ChatGPT models for. What kind of interaction? What kind of issues are they broaching? It's one thing to have a poem or an essay or a song produced. Quite another to be going back and forth with a digital chatbot with maybe some terrible algorithms talking about bigger life issues like lonely and thoughts about harming yourself. I mean, boy, oh boy. All right, someone wanted me to bring this up, and so we should. So when the United Nations Commission has now declared that there's an ongoing genocide in Gaza, it's so quickly rebuffed as fake or, libelous in some corners. And so we could talk about, the move by the Israelis into Gaza City and what that means in the big scheme of things. Whether or not you call it a genocide or ethnic cleansing, it's horrific what's going on, and we can talk about it if you're so inclined. Last one. And this, once again, feels like an American story, but who's to say there are not some prominent Canadian business leaders or politicians or whatever or whoever that appear in the Epstein documents? It's infuriating how it's getting handled. At one point they had the photo opportunity out on the White House lawn, holding a high these big volumes of who knows what, even if there was just blank paper inside, about all of these, some 4,700 wire transfers, and the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was dead while he was in a prison in New York. And now we're told by the FBI director, Patel, that there's no credible evidence that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked anybody for any children for sexual purposes, only himself. What? What? So if that's the case, why was he ever charged with it? If that's the case, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for doing exactly that, convicted of exactly that? So holy smokes. Look, supposing it's Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberals and independents and business leaders and moguls and billionaires and princes and paupers, whoever's on the list, if we're talking about something like pedophilia, child sex trafficking, why don't we all want to see those people chased, investigated, prosecuted, and imprisoned if they did what's been alleged so many times? Absolute madness what goes down there. We're on Twitter. We're VOCM Up Online. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. When we come back, let's have a great show. You know the deal. That can only happen if you're in the queue to talk about what's on your mind. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Just quickly before we go to the phone lines, something that I haven't really seen covered in the media, and I'm not sure what to make of it or what you might think of it, but former Premier Andrew Furey has now been appointed to the board of directors at Newfound Gold. It's not the first time he served on one of these similar boards. He was on the board of Canada Fluorspar, Sequence Bio, Alderon, back in 2017 when that was all the rage about Alderon's hopes and aspirations in Labrador. That came with transmission lines paid for by the taxpayer and all the rest. But yes, Andrew Furey, now on the board of Newfound Gold. Let's go to line number one. Good morning, Sue Calendire. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning.
And so here we are, election time, and my issue, MOU, on the Churchill Falls between Newfoundland, Labrador, and Quebec. The referendum, my first reaction when I heard that an MOU was reached was it must go to a referendum. We in this province have a very long, bad record on deals relative to our hydropower. And despite all the experts, Patty, despite all of our elected representatives, these very horrific deals transpired. And so when I see, because I see a narrative forming, if you will, and more driven by the government, that this is too complex to talk to the people about. Well, the elected representatives in our House, and I don't care which party it is, are representing ordinary people, being ordinary people themselves. They are expected to vote and proceed with these large projects. Again, we have had significant failure in getting the best deal. So we are at, like I know from my generation and my mom and dad, the Upper Churchill impacted all of our, we'll call, our period of time. My children would be residual Upper Churchill and then Muskrat Falls. And now my grandchildren will be impacted by this MOU. So there is nothing too complex unless the government wishes to insult, or politicians wish to insult, the people and their intelligence about having an open referendum process, one which allows many people in this province, and I'm sure you're aware, Patty, there are many people in this province who are not government, who are not elected officials, but are fully capable of dissecting, talking about, and putting out what they feel about this hydro project. So as we enter into this, I do not see the negative in having a referendum. If we look at the most direct democracy in our world, it would be Switzerland. They have at least 4 referendums a year. It goes out to the people. Information is delivered to the people by all sides of an issue or a contract or a development, and people can look at both sides. A bunch of business people telling us that it's okay, this MOU is okay, is self-serving. Politicians who are supporting the deal, it's self-serving. We need to have a referendum process. And there is no way that we can justify, after our history on Churchill Falls, no way we can justify this time not putting this direct question to the people with all information on the table. I'll say this to you, my perspective. Here, I'm one Newfoundlander and Labradorian. This is me. When I look at hydroelectricity, what it means to me, it is the most desired, efficient, renewable, and consistent power that exists. It is what industry looks for to plug into. And to give you a direct example of that, so we know how Quebec is already benefiting so greatly from Churchill Falls, 9 of the 10 aluminum smelters in our country are in Quebec. They are all hooked into hydroelectricity. 3 major aluminum companies in Iceland, all hooked into hydroelectricity. So industry looks at 3 things. They look at the resources that are available, Labrador's filled with critical minerals and otherwise. They look at the cost of labor, and they look at the cost of energy. Energy being 1/3 of that equation. So my first question is, I want the other alternatives where if we develop power in Labrador again, that something gets plugged in Labrador. Something that isn't temporary employment, something that is long-term. Can we use Quebec's model? Here's Quebec's model. For every 1 megawatt of hydroelectricity developed, 100 permanent jobs must transpire.
Okay.
Can we not use something that evidently has worked very, very well for Quebec using our power, in part? They have their own resources. And now we're entering into this again. So, yes, I want a referendum. Yes, I want full dialogue. I even want not just what this deal is composed of, but what the other alternatives to the deal are. We can't keep sitting around and saying Labrador is so rich in mineral wealth, so rich in renewable hydropower, has no ability to attract industry. And let me throw this on top of it, Patty, because this is the new day. AI is all the rage. I guess everyone would have to agree. It's the interest of our Prime Minister, the interest of our premiers, the interest of all businesses. AI is the way to go.
Okay.
First thing AI needs is massive energy. That's what AI needs. That's what they'll be looking for. And they're running around the planet looking for hydro to plug into. So, yes, Patty, I'm not going to sit here and go, well, gee, these guys are so smart, they're up on the hill, and our business community, well, they're just so smart, I just, I'm unable to understand it.
Just let me hop in for a second, Sue. So, some interesting stuff there. You talk about industrial strategy and not some, part-time jobs or jobs that don't last into the long term. That's where my number one problem is with AI, to be honest with you. I mean, as opposed to, the quadrupling of the Labrador Recall block to further mining expansion or new mines to be open versus AI. I mean, because that's the epitome of very few jobs for maximum amount of power required. So they come and build it, and then the data center, will employ X number of people, but nothing like expanding a mine, nothing like a new mine being open and all the critical minerals that we're sitting on in the Labrador Trough. So I find AI to be, it's certainly the minimum bang for a buck when we compare it to industrial strategies regarding mining, critical minerals and otherwise. So I'll put that out there.
I agree with you, Patty. I think what you just said there is exactly right. But the most minimum amount is when you develop power and ship it all out without plugging it into anything in your jurisdiction. That's the minimum amount. You're selling it to somebody else who'll be using it. It's like our fish sometimes, Patty. Let's sell it all out in bulk. Let's not process anything. Let somebody else make the money on that. I mean, we can't keep doing this. How do we call ourselves a failed society when we sit here with 500,000 people? It doesn't budge, relatively speaking. And we are the wealthiest per capita province based on natural resources. Actually, we are the most wealthy in North America per capita. So how is it we haven't made a fist of it? So I agree with you. AI has its limitations, there's no doubt. And with the critical minerals and what we have in Labrador should be plugged into everything. The power doesn't need to leave Labrador. It never did. Quebec is coming hat in hand with a 2041 horizon. All of us have been waiting for that pretty much our entire adult life, and now on to our kids and grandkids. It is absurd to believe that we're going to enter into yet another hydroelectric development, a significant one at that, without having this process directly to the people. It is not acceptable.
Let me talk about the referendum.
Turn around, the experts know, Patty. I can't tell you, and I'm sure the people out there have heard it ad nauseum, all the experts, and yet we end up with crap.
Okay, let me hop in. So the concept of a referendum, conceptually speaking, I get it. I'll just bounce this off you and you can react to it. I think all the reference to Quebec and the 1969 contract, how many people, given the chance to vote on a referendum with the Quebec hangover that's as old as 1969, would simply say, I don't trust Quebec, and consequently, I'm not voting for this thing, as opposed to a contract between Party A and Party B. Second, how many people would simply vote no, simply because they don't like the Liberals? I mean, that's where I think that referendum heads. I really, truly do. I mean, the complexity of this issue, I talk about it all the time. I've read the MOU dozens of times. I talked to my buddies about this particular issue. We talk about it on the show with callers on either side of the coin. I'm not so sure that people are going to vote on the contract versus vote on their emotions regarding Quebec and their emotions regarding the Liberals. What do you think?
Okay, well, with Quebec, and I've always made this very clear, the deal that was made between Quebec and Brinko at the time, Patty, and Joey Smallwood providing the water rights, it is something, obviously, without an escalation clause. And then when Frank Moores bought out Brinko, and then we owned the shares, the 66% shares of the Churchill Falls. Without the escalation clause, certainly that stings. I think oil was $3 a barrel at the time, Patty, so we know, what the value of that actually is. But I believe, and I hold this true, this was our fault. It wasn't the fault of Quebec. Quebec made itself a deal. It is a rotten deal for this province. There's no question about that. But we did the deed. We do it to ourselves. And we do it because we don't put it out to have full and open discourse and discussion. I believe that the people of this province are intelligent enough to know that this is a deal, that if this deal is good, Pat, if this is the best we can do, A, it should have no problem proving that, and B, the people of the province would not reject, because of our history with Quebec, reject a deal. Now, mind you, I remember when, I'm sure you do, when Roger Grimes had a deal with Quebec or an MOU or whatever, and it was Dean MacDonald at the time said, no, whoa. we can't do this. Quebec, I'm leaving hydro. And then Danny came out and said, well, we'll do it for ourselves. And away we go, and we end up with Muskrat Falls.
Okay.
But we have an ability for the people to truly take a look at this project, take a look at the MOU, let people speak, let them digest. Whether or not liberal, conservative, NDP really doesn't matter. This is not a partisan issue. This is a development issue for our province. And if we see that the future is bright for our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren to come, that this is going to be the one that puts us on the right road to prosperity with our resources, there won't be a kickback. I do not believe the people will get to that petty level. We are responsible for what we sign. They are responsible, Quebec, for what they sign.
Understood.
And the only way that we cause ourselves a problem is if we sign in ignorance. Quebec will not sign in ignorance. At this moment, we are signing in ignorance.
Sue?
And it is not representative of the people. And nobody's going to sit there and say to me, well, our representatives are in there and they're going to represent us properly. They're no different than you or I, Patty. They're no different than anyone else out on the street, no different than any ordinary Newfoundlander and Labradorian.
I have to hop in.
And we deserve our process.
Understood. I have to hop in simply because of time on the clock, but I appreciate the call. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks so much, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, let's get a break. And when we come back, we're going to the, I know the name of the lab. It's the Medication Therapy Services Clinic at Munn School of Pharmacy. Dr. Kathy Balsam's in the queue. Don't go away.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 5. Say good morning to Dr. Kathy Balsam with the Medication Therapy Services Clinic at Memorial School of Pharmacy. Dr. Balsam, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Patty. Long time no chat.
Long time no chat. Well, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much.
So let's get into it. Well-being Week is coming up. What's going on?
Yeah, so, I'm super excited to see that the government of Newfoundland and Labrador is promoting kind of general well-being, and they're actually promoting Well-Being Week next week. So there's a variety of activities going on across the province in the various regions. I encourage everyone to check out their website, and they're really kind of promoting health overall, not just your physical, mental health, but, general well-being. But I really wanted to promote the role of the pharmacist in this. So there are a variety of pharmacy-based activities going on across the province. So kudos to my community pharmacy colleagues that are doing a lot within the community. But I wanted to kind of just chat about our service at the Medication Therapy Services Clinic for a minute, because we, of course, know that medication burden can impact not just your physical health, but it can impact your mental health and also really your economic health. When it comes to oftentimes people are on really pricey medications, which might not be affordable this day and age. So our role at the clinic here is basically to act as consultants. We're a clinic that's run completely by pharmacists like myself, and we work with prescribers. So we chat with patients about their medications, help them learn what they're taking, give them that empowerment to kind of be more active in their medication taking. And then we work with the prescribers to improve things. So perhaps medications aren't needed anymore, or perhaps there's a more affordable option available. We're really here to kind of promote that kind of well-being through the appropriate use of medications.
Absolutely. You know, when people talk about social determinants of health, what have you, a lot of people simply lean in on, you know, your diet and hope to have an active lifestyle. But it's bigger than that. I mean, it can start with education. You know, when we talk about people who are lonely or isolated, how much money you have, your interaction with the criminal justice system, you know, whether or not you eat healthy foods. I mean, there's all these factors involved, and a lot of that can indeed be in consultation with folks like yourself at the School of Pharmacy.
Absolutely. You know, when we think about prescriptions, we might just think of your typical kind of medical applications, but there's so much more to it. And like you mentioned, there's all kinds of other preventative health measures that we can chat with people about. You know, if they're on certain medications that, you know, mean they have high risk for cardiovascular disease, perhaps they have diabetes, you know, high blood pressure, we can kind of work with them and not only just kind of add on more medications or adjust medications, but we can really work with them to get the services that they need in the community to kind of live that healthier lifestyle. So, you know, the pharmacist can certainly be involved in a lot of different ways, but really, you know, I think a lot of people just kind of take medications without really asking questions. So we encourage people to kind of ask 5 questions when it comes to their medications. You know, what's the purpose of each one? Could I be experiencing any side effects? You know, in Newfoundland, sometimes we tend to just go and see our prescribers when there's something wrong, and we might not recognize that what we're experiencing is not kind of a new symptom, but it could be a side effect of a medication. You know, so we help to manage those. We talk about asking, could lifestyle changes kind of improve the capabilities of these medications? Are all these medications needed? And what other information should I need? So, you know, we're certainly there to answer all of those questions, and we sit down, we're in this environment where thankfully we're not rushed. So we often sit down with patients for about an hour or so and go down through all their medications and really help them kind of learn how to get the most out of them.
You know, there's a bunch of different events. Had a quick look at the event schedule. We won't dig into every single event. But one thing that's there is, you know, like if your prescription expires or you're no longer needed or your symptoms have waned, so many people just leave the medicine in the cabinet. Who knows who's going to latch onto it next, or they flush it down the toilet. So I think there's a bunch of public pill drops, which is, it sounds sort of innocuous, but pretty important, I think.
Oh, absolutely. You know, a lot of, you know, people do hold on to expired medications and they might never use them. We encourage you to bring them back to your pharmacy. So there are a couple of pharmacies that are listed there on that website that are offering, you know, free disposal of medication safely. We don't want them to be flushed down the toilet and end up in our ecosystem or put in the garbage in the same way. So we actually get rid of them in an environmentally safe way. So certainly encourage anyone to check that out. And I did see on the calendar there as well, some of my pharmacy colleagues in Central, I believe, are doing some seniors focus days where you can come in and get information about, you know, osteoporosis or osteoarthritis and all those sorts of things. And again, you know, we are here at the MTS clinic certainly open to referrals. We don't take people just based on referrals from their prescriber. You can self-refer. So if you have questions about your medications or someone that you love is overwhelmed by their medications, you know, certainly encourage them to give us a call and we can offer our services. And again, we are available all throughout the province. You don't have to be kind of on this end of the overpass. You can certainly arrange a either virtual visit or a phone call visit if you aren't here in St. John's.
And I've put a lot of people onto you.
Yes, you have. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so I mean, the general rule of thumb is if someone's taking 5 or more prescription drugs, it's probably worth your while to have a review of the interaction between those drugs and whether or not you continue to need them. Dr. Balsam, really appreciate your time. Nice to have you back on the program, and happy Wellbeing Week. If you want more information, it's just wellbeingnl.ca.
Yes, and I do want to put a plug in. If anyone is looking to chat with one of our pharmacists at our clinic, you can call 709-864-2274, or you can check out our website, see our referral form, and get our contact information there. It's www.mtsclinic.com, or .ca, sorry. .ca.
I appreciate your time. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's get to the break. You know, let's talk a little tech after we come back. Florian Viome is the CEO at Tech NL. They've got some recommendations for the different political parties leading into this campaign. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Well, the tech sector and innovation sector here in the province is big. It contributes somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 billion to GDP annually, and it's growing. Join us on line number 1 is the CEO at Tech NL. That's Florian Viome. Good morning, Florian. You're on the air.
Good morning, bonjour à tous.
Welcome back to the program.
Yes, thank you. Very excited to be here.
So I've seen the report and the election brief put forward by Tech NL, and there's 18 recommendations. Of course, we won't dig into all 18, but what are some of the big headlines that you want people to understand?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, very excited to share this recommendation. We spent the last few months to reflect to our members on how can the tech sector contribute the most to the Newfoundland economy. And high-level 4 recommendations stand out from that work. One is having the provincial governments supporting tech companies by hiring them for contracts. So public procurement is a big one. So there are a lot of IT tech companies. There are also innovation that can be embedded in public services, which can reduce costs, but also increase the outcome for the public services. So that's one. Another one was...
Before we move on, let's talk about that for a second, because domestic procurement is a big deal. Like, on the national level, we're talking about defence. And, of course, I think TechNL and local companies here should play a role there. But are you talking about changing the scoring criteria inside procurement, or what are you suggesting needs to change?
Yeah, so one is the scoring criteria. There are always limits with the trade agreements, but there are ways that other provinces have embedded it. One is to improve to give more priority to companies that are local. So that's all in the scoring and criteria.
Fair enough, and I didn't mean to interrupt. Where do we go next?
All good. The other piece was really on the fast-tracking the process for companies to receive research and development funding. The pace of business is very high in business, but in tech it's even more. And it's very important that tech companies can be supported with funding, quick funding. And so some of the things we're suggesting is creating a platform that tracks the proposals, having short turnaround, and sometimes leverage AI when possible and when recommended. That's a second one. The third one, which is also something very exciting and that can help with the economy of the province. When you think about companies like Verafin that employ over 900 people, high-paying jobs. On average, in the tech sector, jobs are $85,000. So we need more companies like Verafin, and there are a number of companies that are scaling right now. You think about Colab, Spellbook, and that can create a lot of jobs. And what we're saying is that those companies have different needs than the early-stage companies and need bigger amounts for their support to create local jobs and continue to grow. And the last piece, and you mentioned it, is around defense. So as we all heard, there will be an increase of the defense budget at the federal level in this year and moving forward. The question is, how do we champion, how the incoming government can champion the sector here to promote it and for us to attract the maximum of those dollars in the province, therefore helping the growth of those tech companies and create more jobs there. So that's kind of the top highlights. But we have a little more, but I'm not going to go through them today. Yeah,
fair enough. There's lots of interesting conversations to be had about, what GDP looks like and the contributing factors. When a country's per capita GDP grows, as much as people might not want to hear this, is you kind of move away from things like manufacturing and you move into the world of services, because services pay. Services drive the economy. Services create companies. Even intellectual property might sound like academia, but it's actually an economic driver. We're falling behind in Canada. We don't do enough on that front. We do a pretty good job researching. We do an okay job developing. We don't do a very good job monetizing. And that's the way of the world. So, yes, as any country's per capita GDP grows, it's a service economy. And tech is going to be the backbone of a service economy.
Yeah, and it's across multiple sectors, right? We talk about sectors, tech sector as one, but it's embedded in energy, mining, ocean sector. So more we invest in this sector, more we help other sectors to succeed and grow and create those jobs as well.
Last one before I let you go. So when we talk about intellectual property, what kind of recommendation flows to government on that front? Because is that not up to individuals and for companies to create and do their own intellectual property protection?
Yeah, they need to lead that process for sure, but protecting intellectual property has also a cost. And that's what we're saying, is that more funding to support that cost is important, because when a company grows, there's always limited funding. How much do you invest in protecting IP or attracting customers is tough choices. But if the government help on protecting IP and intellectual property, then they can focus on growing more the business. And also it increases the chance that those companies are, stay Canadian and are successful in Canada.
Where are we with the tech talent pool? Because when companies grow, they need to grow with contribution of new employees, quite likely. So where are we in access to tech talent?
Yeah, so right now the tech sector employs around 10,000 people. What we found is the big need right now is attracting experienced talents, because like from other outside the province. And what's interesting, when you attract those talents, it allows a company to grow, but it also allows to mentor the entry-level talents, which is important, and that creates those local jobs. So what we heard from companies is that they have big need to support those experienced workers in the tech sector to attract them here.
Appreciate your time, Florian. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. That's Florian Viaume, the CEO at TechNL. I mean, they've got a targeted growth of being somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 billion of impact on the GDP in this province by 2030, I think is that date that they talk about. Let's take a break. When we go back, tons of time for you. Don't go away.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 1. Say good morning to the manager of program delivery with the Shift program. That's Katie Fraser. And good morning, Katie. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
Excellent today. Thanks. How about you?
Good, thank you.
Before we get too deep into it, what's the Shift program?
The Shift program, it's delivered in partnership with EcoNext and the City of St. John's, and it's carried out with assistance from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund, which is an endowment created by the Government of Canada. And the program works to guide and support homeowners in the City of St. John's through the process of making their homes more energy efficient, more comfortable, and more cost effective. We connect you with one of our home energy navigators who help you set up an energy audit for your home and assess your options. The program actually launches on September 24th. However, you can head to our website now to pre-book an appointment. The website is makeashiftnl.ca.
What's involved with an energy efficiency audit?
So the audit is a certified energy audit company comes into your home and assesses where your home is using energy inefficiently, we'll say.
Okay, fair enough. When I think of energy efficiency in my home, people talk about the big things like, electric furnaces and things like that. But is it not the case that for most people who have energy inefficient homes, you deal with windows and drafts first?
Yeah, of course. So energy efficiency renovations are upgrades that can range from insulation, window replacement, air sealing, upgrading your heating, and sometimes even servicing your hot water tank. So there's a range.
Okay. So walk it through. Let's say I go to the website, I request someone to come in. Walk us through the process. We talked about the audit already. So it's then what? Are there funding models out there or funding supports out there, or is this simply recommendations that can be made and then it's up to the homeowner to take advantage of them or to abide by them or not?
Yeah, exactly. So it starts with the home energy audit. Then you get an EnerGuide report, which lists options that you can do to your home, and then it is entirely up to the homeowner, depending on financial situation, that sort of thing. which we have the ability to walk you through. So our guidance is, the service is free, but the upgrades and energy audits themselves come with costs, and we're here to make it more manageable. We can help you apply for available grants and rebates, and we're also working with the Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union to offer low-interest loans for home energy efficient renovations for the participants in the program.
So you talked about the funding that comes into the SHIFT program. Is there any cost to me if I contact you and go through the process?
No, not at all. So the SHIFT program services throughout the whole process are free. So we're just here to help and walk you through and make it simpler.
Sounds good. So what do people need to do now, next steps, if they're interested in going down this path?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to contact us. maketheshiftnl.ca is your best bet, but we also have a line that's open, that will be open, a phone line open September 24th. That is 709-979-0362. You can give us a call, and you can also schedule an appointment on our website.
Oh, I guess I should ask, what part of the province does this cover?
So it's just the city of St. John's.
Okay. I want to make sure I got that out there before you guys start getting calls from Bay Roberts or what have you.
Yeah.
Nice to have you on the show, Katie. Anything else you'd like to add while we have you this morning?
No, we just encourage homeowners living in St. John's to visit our website. Again, that's maketheshiftnl.ca, or give us a call at 709-979-0362. We're here to help.
Appreciate the time, Katie. Good luck with it.
Thanks so much, Patty.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye. It's Katie Fraser, Manager Program Delivery with the SHIFT program. That's likely going to be of interest to many. I mean, we know that over the summer with the annual rate adjustment here, and don't forget, it was 7% up. So, the PUB says it could have been more than 10%, but it's up 7%. We don't notice it a whole lot in the summer because, for the most part, we haven't got the heat on. Now, some people using the mini splits for air conditioning purposes, what have you. Obviously, there's some electricity costs associated with it, but here comes the winter. Energy efficiency in your home, any bit you can save there by just making the home more efficient, long-term savings, sounds like an excellent idea. Let's go to line number one and say good morning to one of the Ward 2 candidates running here in the city of St. John's. That's Greg Smith. Greg, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are we doing?
Doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I'm calling in this morning on a piece that really touches on downtown revitalization, and it kind of makes us an outlier between the entire country when it comes to a policy that we have. So I'm called in about the vacancy subsidy that we have in the city. So if you own a commercial property that is vacant, you can receive up to 50% of a subsidy for the taxes that you owe to the city. So based on the 2025 budget, we garner $82.5 million in commercial taxes. However, if we had a 10% vacancy rate, because of this policy specifically, we would lose $3.5 to $4.5 million in tax revenue. And I think that's truly something that we need to talk about more.
The downtown is nowhere near where it needs to be, and there's a variety of factors because not every building is created equal with required upgrades, whether it be for the electrical system or what have you. So how pragmatically could or should this work? Because I know a revitalized downtown is a pretty clear economic indicator of where the city is heading.
100%. So I think we look at other jurisdictions. So we look at what they're doing. We are an outlier. We are completely an outlier. I've called cities across the country. Nowhere does have a policy that is so basic as ours. The stipulation to receive this subsidy is you need a sign in the window that says it's for lease or for rent. You don't have to be market rate. You don't have to be accessible. You don't have to be energy efficient. And I think that that's kind of shameful that we have a policy that is an outlier for all the wrong reasons. Regina, for example, has a policy that gives you a subsidy or gives you a grant if you are turning a vacant loft that's been sitting for 5 years, or for their city center program and revitalization that you can also receive a tax subsidy if you're going to build and remodel. And I just think that we look at the downtown, it's a reflection of that. We have from Cliffs Baird's Cove up to Prescott Street there, how many vacant storefronts, and it is an issue throughout Ward 2 specifically, but, the city in general. And then our office towers are, over 50% vacant. So this is a policy that is corporate welfare. We lose tax dollars that can be, given to even a subsidy on some other things in this city that can be for remodeling and revitalization, money that can go into sidewalk snow clearing, money that can go into a rainy day fund. Like, we're talking about a big chunk of change with no incentive for any property owner in the downtown to grow or to do anything to get new business in.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's what kind of business? We've seen a real churn here. You know, people will point to the fact that, you know, so many restaurants or coffee shops have come and gone. That's one thing, but it's also the opportunity to bring different sorts of entities into the downtown. Downtown needn't only be about the hospitality sector, and I know it's more than that anyway at this moment in time, but there's a lot of work to be done in the downtown. And, you know, some of that, we can talk about tax credits and subsidies and incentives and all those things. But I think one of the things that is keeping the downtown the way it is just how unsafe it feels sometimes. I mean, I walk through downtown, and look, I'm not going to say that, you know, people are out there trying to get a few dollars for whatever reason or some sort of massive problem in this world, but it does have that feeling of not as comfortable as it once was. Like, even at the pedestrian mall, it didn't feel great last summer. I didn't even bother going this summer. So I think unless we can deal with that pragmatically, business will follow if the downtown had a different feel.
Precisely, and I think you're 100% right. People don't feel safe in the downtown core day or night, and I know that personally. I think there's so many things that we can target downtown. This is one. Obviously, safety and is another one, which is huge, but I think then the last one that we need to target is the services downtown. We don't have enough people living in the downtown core to sustain the businesses that are there after the pedestrian mall, which I believe should be longer in season, and patios should be longer in season. It's great weather out now. It's going to be 21 tomorrow. And we also don't have the main services downtown that I think we need that most other cities our size or growing cities have. We don't have a community center in the downtown core. We don't have a library. And those are things that I'm going to be fighting for as well. So I think that there's a plethora of things that we can do to revitalize the downtown. But I think we need to start with low-hanging fruit, and that is, does our policies match other jurisdictions nationwide? And if they don't, why are they having better results? And it's probably because our policies are incentivizing the wrong things. So, yeah, thank you for having me on this morning, Patty. I want to let people know that their ballots should be in the mail. They should be out within this week. And if you haven't, go register to vote and make sure that you do.
I appreciate your time, Greg. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Greg Smith, running in Ward 2. Let's take a break. When we come back, Jim's in the queue to talk about municipal elections and bloat. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Jim. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. It is a good morning. I woke up this morning. I could stand up and go to the bathroom and do my pee. Gee, sure, it's a fantastic morning. Every morning is a great morning.
Fair enough, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I live down here on the east end off Lovely Bay Road. A couple of days ago, I had to go into a Princess Auto. And going through, I looked at all the signs that's on the sides of the street. People running for the council in St. John's and Mount Pearl, plus the provincial election. And I say, why are people spending all this money to get these signs? They develop them, they get them printed. They get the wood to go around them and go around and put them on lawns. And then I came home. I haven't got a computer. I'm not interested in a computer. I haven't got a cell phone. I'm not interested in a cell phone. So I said to my wife, I said, look up city council. And she looked up, I said, what is the mayor getting? Oh, she said, the mayor's getting $140,000 a year. And the deputy mayor, the councillors are getting $50,000 a year. And my question is, this is why they're running. I've been running for over 30 years as a volunteer. And you know what I got? I spent 12 years at one of the food banks here. After I had a heart attack and I had to give it up, I had 3 people approach me and thank me for helping feed them and their family when they found it necessary to go to the food bank, that they no longer go to the food bank. That was my pay. I used my car, my van, my gas, and my time to go around and pick up food, go back to the food bank, food place, and put it on the shelves, and go twice a month and give it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when you talk about...
I devoted... Another time I was at the Knights of Columbus The first year we had three car lotteries. First one we raised $50,000. It was my idea to come up with it. It was my idea to go up and get the tickets printed and go get places to sell the tickets. And I was the treasurer, so I spent practically 4 times. And we bought community food sharing as at we made $75,000. $50,000 we donated to community food sharing. $25,000 they bought a forklift, and $25,000 they bought a van.
Good on you.
I was involved with NAPE. I was involved with scouting and with minor hockey. I was on the board of directors of Community Food Sharing Association. I volunteered at Single Parents. But I'm a volunteer. I never got any money. But yet these people are going out there and we're paying them. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I don't begrudge the mayor of the city of St. John's getting paid, but there are jobs inside the city, the workforce, and there's a lot of people who work for the city of St. John's, and some of the salaries are absolutely extraordinary.
Look, I was down there the other day looking for a permit to build a shed in my garden, and inside the counter was 4 people there. 4. Plus there was offices inside. The place down there was locked. But do we need 9 councillors? Do we need a mayor and a deputy mayor? 3 at large plus 4 at large plus the wards. Do we need all them? Can we instead of going with 9? Can we go with 7?
I don't know what the appropriate number is.
If you went with 7, you could eliminate 2. 2 at $50,000, each has $100,000. Now that $100,000, what I would use that for, I would go into Boring Park. We have potential here for tourism is unbelievable. I go into Boring Park and I make sure I have Newfoundland ponies and Newfoundland dogs. So when the tourists come in here, they go in there, they got Peter Pan, they got the Peter Pan statue there, they got the caribou there, they go up and try lawn mowing. You can have kayaks on the duck pond that you can rent out, and they can get pictures taken. Can you imagine when they go back, these tourists go back and show them the pictures? Here I am stood up by a picture of Peter Pan or the ducks, or here I am out in the kayak. Look at it, look at the tourism potential. And we could do that by eliminating 2 ward councillors, which we don't need, because I don't know who in the heck to vote for. I know the only one I can recognise here is Sandy Hickman. And a couple of council meetings I looked at, all he does is sleep to him. And Aaron Potter, he was here before. But who am I going to vote for? You tell me. John Barber, Katie Cadigan, Paul Comden, Scott Fitzgerald, Lynn Hammond, Walter Harding, Thomas Poulet, Miles Russell, Nikita Royal, or Wallace Ryan. I don't know any of these people. Why can't they turn around and have an open forum? There's no news centre up there.
Well, there was a
and have a meeting up there,
okay.
So people can get up there and they can say, "This is who I am. This is what I do. This is why I'm running." We got nothing.
Well,
I don't know who to vote for.
There have been candidate forums. There was a Ward 2 candidates forum last night. I can't remember where it was, but there was one.
You're down in Ward 2, are you? And there's 4 people running down in Ward 2.
Right.
Yeah, but who the heck do you know? Do you know any of them?
Yeah, and if I'm curious about any of them, I just go find where their information is, have a look at it, read about their background, read about what they think on certain issues, and I go from there.
But I think it's time for councillors really to look at and have a restructure and do what the federal government is doing. They turn around and tell them they got to reduce their staff by 15% or 10%.
Well, we'll see now when the budget comes out federally.
And look at, do you need all these councillors?
I don't know how many.
You don't need all these councillors.
Okay.
There's nobody.
Point taken.
I go to Fortis meetings, and they don't have near many people as this. And this is a company worldwide. By the way, talking about Fortis.
Quickly.
Did our Newfoundland Labrador Hydro develop up in Labrador Hydro? They came in over time and over budget.
Yes, I know.
Our local company, Fortis, went out to BC. They built a large hydro development out there. They came in under time and under budget.
Yeah, Fortis wanted nothing to do with Muskrat, and we know that because Dan Marshall said as much.
There's a difference. That's a difference between.
All right, Jim.
Difference between private and government. Government is very inefficient.
Sometimes that's absolutely true, no doubt about it. I appreciate the time, Jim. We got to get going. I appreciate the call. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Take care.
Anyways, people, just let the people.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to know your candidate before you cast some sort of informed vote. Let's see here. I have no idea who's next, but Stella's in the queue to talk about wildfire, specifically the impact on some of the unincorporated areas. Edward's there to talk about some road conditions in a certain part of the province. And then we're going to talk with Aaron Collette, the Candidates Go Gold Fun Run and Night of Delight. Don't go away.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Welcome back to the show. Just a very quick reference to an email asking me if I've, had any comments or calls or emails about the distinct smell of fuel that's hanging over Metro. Not yet, but it's real. It's noticeable out here on Kenmount Road. It was really bad this morning around 8 o'clock. Not as bad at 10 o'clock, but I have no earthly idea what it is, but I'd like to know. Let's go to line number 5. Good morning, Edward. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm calling from Wooddale.
Yes, sir.
Which is a farming community close to Grand Falls.
Yep.
Now, the election is called, so I'm just reminding the parties that we are here, because I'm sure they don't know we're here, only around election time when they talk about food security. And I've been here now on 55 years on a gravel road, and there's not the road right now is down to the point that when they come in to grade it, they can't put the blade down any more than an inch because they're bringing up the basic rocks that are the basis of the road. So I'm quite disgusted when this area, like I said, in 55 years, I would venture that there's been at least $1 million a year going into the economy because there's eggs and milk and cranberries, vegetables, fruit, and hay going here in a fairly great amount. So I don't know how they come up with figures for the economy or what goes into the economy. But if it's not that, I would say it's at least $1 million a year. So they can't even bother to give us a basic infrastructure of a road that's fit to go over. So I just remind them now that we're here, and when whoever gets elected as a party, I'm sort of pulling for the Conservative because twice in that 55 years, there has been a bit of an upgrade on our road, and they were in power each time. When the Liberals are in power, they don't know we're here.
A couple of comments about Wooddale. Like you talked about the economic impact of Wooddale itself. I would suggest it's even bigger than that. I mean, Wooddale is one of the key agricultural hubs in the province. I mean, they do things like all those seed orchards and the tree nurseries. I think there's an agricultural development corporation out in Wooddale too, which does a lot of work. So even if we're just talking about all the seed orchards and all the transplant programs that happen in Wooddale, that impacts farmers right around the province. So Wooddale is a pretty important community.
Yeah. Now, with the tree nursery, there's a river that goes between the south and north, I guess you call it, and the tree nursery is on their own road. Now, their road is, I've been over that many times, but each time I go in there, their road is kept up better than our road is. When we get a rain, that's what destroys a gravel road, because then you get potholes, and of course to get the grader in. When it gets so rough that you can't go over it any more than about 10 or 15 kilometers an hour, to get the grader in, and sometimes we got to wait a week or two to get a grader in. And but over on where the tree nursery is, there's a big production over there, and their road is kept up better than our road is. We're in the area where it's producing, like I say, eggs and well, milk now is not being produced there, but it was for years. But there's eggs and vegetables and fruit and cranberries coming off this road. Now, when I say $1 million, I mean I could be way low, and that's not including what goes on over in the tree nursery. That's just what comes out of Wooddale here with producing the food for the people.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And so, is it only a dirt road in and out of Wooddale? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Well, our local road is about 5 kilometers long. Now, we come in what is called the New Bay Road. Now, the New Bay Road is paved, but it was paved about 40 years ago, and hasn't been. Well, they filled the potholes, and that's about it. But that road is pretty rough. But at least you're not getting dust and mud and everything else. But our local road, which is off from the New Bay Road, is gravel. And like I say, in 55 years, you think that of all the millions and billions of dollars over that time that has been spent paving roads, I know that we're not important when it comes to, I guess, tourism or something like that. But we are producing food, so I mean that, and we're supposed to be, considered important to that point. But we don't get much encouragement when it comes to our road. They just. We have to call when it gets too rough. You can't go any more than 10 or 15 kilometers an hour. We call and see if we can't get it graded, and sometimes a grader is available, and sometimes it's not, because there's not much gravel road apparently in Newfoundland anymore. Over on Bay Verde, I think there's a bit, but that's where the government grader is most of the time. So usually they got to hire a local grader to come in and grade our road, but he can't do a good job because when he puts the blade down, I mean, some of the potholes are 3 and 4 inches deep, and if he puts his blade down to try to get enough gravel to fill them in, he's hooking into the basic rock, which is blasted rock that was put there. We had a good foundation, but we got no top on it now, so there's not much gravel there to grade. So I mean, yes, we'd love to have pavement. I don't know what it costs to pave it, but if we're producing millions of dollars into the economy, sure, they can take 2 or 3% of what we've produced over the past 55 years to spend a bit of money and give us a half-decent road. Fair enough. I appreciate the time. Anything else this morning, Edward? Pardon? Anything else you'd like to say this morning? No, that's the main topic. I mean, there's other things I could say about farming, but right now the road is important. And if they're going to, whoever gets elected, I hope that I know what they most look at it is there's only about maybe 14 or 15 families in there, but we're producing a lot of money for a few families. So are we going to be just neglected again for another 4 years? I won't be around probably in another 4 years because I'm getting up there in age. Well, hopefully you'll be around to make another call into the future. I'm going to leave it at that, Edward, but I appreciate your time. You're always welcome. Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Bye. Let's keep going. Line number one, say good morning to Aaron Collette. Talk about the Candidators Go Gold Fun Run and Night of Delight. Good morning, Aaron. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you?
Great today. How about you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on. And you're absolutely right. We have a Go Gold Fun Run coming up this Sunday morning that NL Events is putting off in support of Candidators Newfoundland and Labrador. So we're very grateful for that. We have over 80 people registered. We still have over 60 spots available. So if anybody is wondering about, registering or not or taking part, We're doing this because September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So Candlelighters, we provide supports to families facing a childhood cancer diagnosis right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So we're really happy that we have this run, and we have several of our families participating. They've been fundraising as well. So this is the first of what we hope will be many annual Go Gold fun runs here in St. John's.
Just so folks have a bit more context about Candlelighters, I'm familiar with the organization, but what kind of supports do you provide?
Okay, so our main thing is providing a sense of community for all of our families, okay? So when you look at Candlelighters, it can be something as what might seem simple, like having a food cupboard at the Janeway for all oncology families. We have the food cupboard. When a family is first finding out that their child has been diagnosed with cancer, we provide a diagnosis support kit. So there's things in there, information for the families, books, blankets, comfort items for the children like a stuffed toy, things like a thermometer when, they're going home and continuing treatment and that sort of thing. And we have Christmas parties. We send out a birthday card and a special surprise for every child who's part of the Candlelighters family. We often say, it's a club that nobody wants to be a part of, an exclusive club. But once you're part of Candlelighters and once you've registered with us, you're not alone, because we always say, kids can't fight cancer alone, nor should they, or any of their family members.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about Dr. Jack?
Dr. Jack, so I never had the opportunity to meet him myself, but I will tell you that whenever his name comes up, any of the Candlelighters families who were familiar with him loved him. So those who knew him loved him for sure, and he was a huge support to many, many of our Candlelighters kids.
Yeah, and there's Dr. Jack Hand. I think you've even been collecting video testimonials from people who have had their life impacted by Dr. Jack.
So the Dr. Jack Hand Foundation, they are collecting all of those things. So they're a separate foundation from ours.
Okay.
But of course, we support one another. Any of our events, they'll share for us on social media, and we absolutely do the same for them. And they're a regular supporter of Candlelighters as well, because of course we're all connected in one way or another.
And with Childhood Cancer Awareness Month this month, interestingly, and I only know this because I watch a lot of baseball, is Major League Baseball celebrated it far and wide throughout the entire league. The Blue Jays just this past weekend, all the players came out to the third base line and to spend some time and share a baseball with a child who's either in remission or currently fighting cancer. So it's getting the attention it deserves, and hopefully that's making meaningful, positive change. For folks who would like to participate or be involved in the Go Gold Fun Run and Night of Delight, what do they have to do?
Okay, so for the Go Gold Fun Run, that's this Sunday, September 21st. They can go to our Candlelighters NL Facebook page. They can also go to NL Events on Facebook, where you can find the link to register there. You can also, if you don't want to participate, you can also make a donation. And if you take the time to go in there, several of our families and several people participating have their own personal stories online. So it really shows you, and again, with September being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, it shows you what these children and what their families actually go through. And Candlelighters is absolutely one of the many supports for them. I know I didn't touch on Night of Delight. That's coming up Saturday, November 1st. Tickets are on sale, and again, you can go to our website if you'd like, www.candlelightersnl.ca, or again, our Facebook page is a wonderful place to find any information on Candlelighters as well, and any of our upcoming events.
I appreciate this morning. Oh, where's the run?
Oh, thank you. The run is taking place down at Kitty Bitty Lake. We're calling it a fun run, or I should say NL Events is calling it a fun run because you can walk, run, skip, walk backwards. As long as you're there supporting these children and these families facing a childhood cancer diagnosis, we just want you there. Just, again, to show these kids and to show these families that they're not alone.
I appreciate your time. Good luck with it, Erin.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
The very same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Erin Collett with the Candlelighters, the Go Gold Fun Run Night of Delight. All right. Let's see here. Apparently, just heard from listener Ted, who lives in the downtown. Apparently, he went out on his back deck. He can smell the fuel down there as well. So there's a pretty low ceiling here today. So if we're smelling it here and they're smelling it downtown, I'd like to know the source of it because it's pretty strong. That's the fuel smell. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're talking about the wildfires and the impact on unincorporated areas, and then you don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 4. Stella, you're on the air.
Hi, Patty. My name's Stella Johnson. I called you. I was in evacuation at that time. I knew my house had burnt, but I went back probably 5 or 6 days after I was talking to you to a burnt-out property. My whole house was burnt.
I'm really sorry.
But now, what I wanted to talk about today, of course, Patty, is the recovery of the North Shore. And not just the North Shore. I want to talk about the unincorporated areas that were hit the hardest, like Oakville Cove, Western Bay. They had the most damage of all the communities on the North Shore. They lost most of the houses, the post office and school. I don't have to go into all that because we've heard it all before. We've seen pictures on the internet. It's like a bomb dropped on it. So here we are now. We need to get into talking about recovery of the North Shore. What are we going to do to bring the North Shore back so it becomes the tourist attraction that it always was? Because right now, it certainly isn't. I call it the Black Forest behind my house. It's Black Forest for about 4 miles behind me and inside me. So, so the most damage, as I said, occurred in the unincorporated areas of Western Bay and Oakville Cove. Northern Bay did very good, actually. It only occurred over where I'm living by Northern Bay Sands. And Kingston, of course, had a lot of damage. But what we need now is that we need to get a committee together to start addressing those issues as unincorporated area. Now, we have 7 members that have already volunteered to work with the council in Small Point, Adams Cove. So that's good. We got volunteers. We got 7 volunteers. They're from each community that had damage. So what they'll do is they'll work with them and they'll come back and tell us what's going on with regards to communication. And that's good because we have, if you look at the thing, there's a lack of communication right now for us, for the unincorporated areas. So that's good. They formed that committee and they're going to keep us updated. But what we're asking for is visible leadership, a proper representation where the damage is, and honest communication.
So does that mean that you need people from the individual communities to be part of what the government is calling the task force to rebuild? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that would be, like, we're unincorporated. Like, I can understand the council in Small Point, Adams Cove. They were elected to represent their area, which is good, which is great. And they did a good job during the fire. They had Red Cross come in there, all the things that people needed. But they did a good job. I'll give that. They did a great job. But again, they can only represent the people who voted them. That's who that's So we have 7 members now that are going to sit on that when they have meetings on recovery. That's going to help us out. And I thought about it before, like, it was a little bit of lack of communication there about how they were appointed and how they were selected and all that stuff. But now, thinking back on it, you got 7 people that want to volunteer to do that. So that's great. And the other thing, Patty, that's just that area there that I want to talk about. It's recovery. Like, it's unbelievable. If you just came to West, seen the devastation. I don't know if people realize. It's just like something like a bomb had dropped out there. How are we going to bring all that back? It's just unreal.
Absolutely. I've seen a ton of pictures, so I can, in my mind's eye, picture just how devastated the area is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's probably behind my house. I took most of those pictures. where my house was and took those pictures, a lot of those pictures, because I've had a lot of comments and they circled around, they circulated a bit. Without delaying, been busy there this morning. The other thing, of course, you spoke this morning about this arson thing. And that's something else now that we need to get involved. Like, we need to find out what's going on with this arson, because obviously the fire began that multiple attempts after that. And of course the big fire, of course, was in Kingston August the 3rd, and we the people, we need to know what is going on with that arson. Like, I got people that are calling me that are scared. They're really afraid that this is going to happen again. Like, I had a woman call me yesterday. She said she was in Western Bay. She had 15 minutes to get out of her house and take all of her animals with her. And the place fire was chasing behind her car. And so these are the things that we have to look at. Like, this arson, this got to stop. And
that begins with simply an acknowledgement by the RCMP that they are investigating the possibility of arson. They don't need to say, we've got XY suspect. And I don't expect to have, all the nitty-gritty shared by law enforcement. But have we actually heard whether or not they're actually investigating anything? Because back when the first couple of attempts and the first couple of fires in Adams Cove and surrounding communities, they were talking about they will be investigating. But has that been updated since? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm constantly, like anyone would when they're involved in anything, it consumes you. So I'm looking it up all the time.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anything. And that's the arson thing. Now, and the other thing, I was just listening to your open line show there, and someone called in about what's going on downtown, the issues downtown in the city with trafficking, drug trafficking, looting, and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the notes I have there in my book. Those are the same things that we're having out in the little small community. Drug trafficking. God, like, it's unbelievable.
Stella?
Unreal.
Yeah, and I talked about exactly that off the top of the show this morning. I've been getting emails from very concerned, worried residents in various communities out there talking about the ongoing looting and stealing and the worries that they face and the spotty cell phone coverage if and when something goes wrong. So I'll keep talking about it because I know that some people live in like a little 3-foot window, right? It's and everything that's important happens where they live, as opposed to there's lots of similarities, whether we talk about drugs and violence and guns and homeless. It's not just in the big urban centres like St. John's. It's unfortunately absolutely everywhere.
Yes, that's right. But we have people who I'm assuming we've seen one day that someone found someone's bike that had been stolen out of a shed in Oak Cove, and I never heard anything about it after. I don't know, what's happening? And people are getting arrested. You don't hear nothing about it after. They're stopping people. You never hear anything about it after. This is what's scaring people. And Patty, you have to think now that we have mostly senior citizens living in our area. Can you imagine how scared they are? And of course, now we have people who are 80 years old and 75 years old who lost their houses, and these guys now are rooting through their whatever they got in their garages, if the garage is still standing. This is terrible.
It absolutely is. I'm glad you called on it this morning, Stella. Would you like to say anything else?
I got one more thing I want to say. That they have a little group also with the 7 now. We're planning on having a town hall, and we're going to go in a non-cooperated area of Burn Point on Wednesday, September 27th at 6:30, and the place is called The Lodge in Burn Point. It's a hall or a lodge. So we're going to have a town hall meeting. We're hoping everybody that was affected, or not everyone was affected certainly, because we're all in the evacuation or on alert. And so we're hoping that we'll get people come in and tell us how they feel and what's happening, and we can give them some information too of what kind of things are going to happen. So again, Wednesday, September 24th, 6:30, the Lodge in Burn Point. And of course, we're hoping to get the candidates there too.
Hope they do. I hope they show up. Stella, thanks for this. Appreciate your time. Stay in touch.
I will. Thank you, Patty.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye-bye. Let's get a break for the news. When we come back, Clem Whittle's running as an independent candidate in Harbour, Maine. Shelley wants to talk about the roads in one part of the province. We're going to talk public safety downtown with Brenda Halley running in Ward 2. Glenn's got a lost item he'd like to retrieve, and Tom wants to chime in on the MOU. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back. Let's go to line number 1. Glenn, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Paddy?
That's kind to you.
Good. I just wanted to report something last night. I don't know if anyone got it. Might call in. So I lost a 4-stroke Husqvarna weed whacker. Just came off my trailer. I don't know. Just came, and by the time I got down to the end of the road and realised and turned around and come back, it was gone. So I don't know if someone just took it or I don't know what happened. But anyway, it's gone. I can tell you where I lost it to.
Far away.
So you come across Majors Pass, excuse me, and the intersection of Majors Pass and Torbay Row at the lights. There's a Tim Hortons across there, and there's a place where you can get your oil change in your car. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They're in.
Yep.
Yeah, so when I was turning left to go towards Stavanger Drive, the weed whacker come off and there was traffic, so I had to go on up and go into one of the stores farther up and turn around, and by the time I got back, it was dark. By the time I got back and got stopped, and I had to go over in the parking lot and walk across, and when I went over, I didn't see any sign of it, and I seen it come off, and so I just wonder, I just left my number offline. And if anyone happens to call in, I appreciate it.
Sure, we have your number. Dave has it. So if anyone picked it up, the 4-stroke Husqvarna weed whacker, Glenn would like it back. Fingers crossed.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks a lot, Glenn. Appreciate your time and good luck.
Have a good day.
You too. All right, let's keep rolling here. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning to yet another candidate running in Ward 2 here in the city of St. John's. That's Brenda Halley. Brenda, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Patty. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Patty, I wanted to chime in with some of the comments you made between you and Greg Smith had called in earlier. Greg spoke about the revitalization of downtown, and that's great. It's very lucrative for the city when we get these things done. But I'm with you, Patty. You spoke about safety being an issue first. I've had so many emails sent to me by various people living in all kinds of areas in the city, not just Ward 2, but saying, I'm not feeling comfortable to go downtown. There's lots happening. Patty, I guess one of the things I want to bring up is full of discrimination and lots of stigma but I want to go there. It's a difficult conversation, but I'm happy to have it. It is panhandling downtown, and we're seeing it in Ward 2 in many areas, mine included. And people have emailed me to say that they feel very uncomfortable if there are panhandlers outside a particular business. Business owners have emailed me to say, look, my customers are going across the street and turning around. I think that we need to address the root causes, and working with all levels of government to talk about, why the increase on panhandling? So 2 reasons, Patty, in my opinion. Obviously, people need money. And so with all levels of government, I want to be the one at the table that talks about increasing the guaranteed basic income for people. Obviously, people are hungry and they're not making enough to feed themselves or pay any basic bills. I think the other thing that people are struggling with is isolation. I think that people are either kicked out of their houses early in the day with nowhere to go, and they're isolated. And so, this is sort of the purpose of interacting with people and like a structure to your day. And I've said this over and over in various arenas where I've spoken. And, safety is a big thing. We speak about, maybe a police presence downtown, and that's absolutely a positive step in the right direction. But we need to look at what's going on in our city with a health lens. I think people are struggling. The level of mental health and addictions right now in the province is huge, and I think that we need to work together with all levels of government before we can to address that. I had some ideas.
Before we move on, when we talk about these types of things on the show, whether it be panhandling or homelessness or what have you, and people say we cannot have that in the downtown, we cannot have that around Confederation Building, we cannot have an XYZ location. The problem with that thought is that if you just move someone, nothing gets solved. So if a panhandler is operating on the corner of Duckworth and Prescott today, and you move them somewhere else, then they're just doing the same thing and have the exact same life circumstances, but they're just doing it somewhere else. Same thing with homeless. Move the camp from Confederation to Bannerman Park, disband it there. What do we think we've achieved? Not much. We just get it out of the eyesight of a tourist or someone who lives in the area. We haven't solved anything.
Absolutely. You're just NIMBY, is it? Is that the acronym? I think you're just moving the issue. And, we really, as a social worker, Patty, for 22 years in mental health and addictions, and longer than that in other areas of social work, I have a good idea of ways that we can work with folks to help solve problems of homelessness and mental health and addictions. This is what I'm doing. The garden, I know that Maxine Lenny called in the other day, and the garden that she referenced was a garden that I started 11 years ago to role model and help people with improved mental health. That garden was written up about in the health report by Dr. Parfrey as an improved opportunity for mental health in this province. And basically, and I spoke about it last night at the Georgetown, debate that we had. It's about engaging with people who are homeless, who are unemployed, and who leave the gathering place after being fed, and maybe a haircut or the basics, and they're over in that green space where people are intimidated to walk through these days. And those folks I've been over, I've chatted with them several times. They remember me from having
Not sure what happened there. That's on Brenda's end. I didn't touch anything. Let's see here. If she would like to finish her thoughts, she's more than welcome. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going out to Harbour, Maine. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's rejoin Brenda Halley on line number 3, Ward 2 candidate, to finish her thoughts. Brenda, you're back on the air.
Sorry about that, Patty. I'm not sure what happened, but thank you.
No problem.
So I was speaking about the folks at the gathering place. I've worked there for 4 years on a secondment. I chatted with them several times over the last few weeks. They want to be engaged with. And this is why I've been telling people on my door-to-door travels that I have ways that can help with safety, drug addiction, and mental health issues in this city. I've been doing it for years, and I think that I have to be at the table where decisions get made at City Hall. The other thing I want to bring out is that, I was involved in the meetings at Bishop Field where my son attends, and I've had 3 meetings with John Abbott. The first one was just myself and another concerned parent who had emailed him, my friend Melissa. And, we met with John and other stakeholders, and they were productive meetings. We had the conversation started, but the conversation still needs to continue. And what I discovered at those meetings, Patty, was that, we only had the meetings that we had were finally 3 levels of government, but that had not happened before. This is not a municipal problem. This is a city problem. It needs to include the provincial, federal, and municipal governments. Patty, I know I'm just keeping you a bit here now, but I wanted to wrap up about the revitalization plan. I think that once we deal with the safety issues and people are happy to go downtown, that will bring money to the downtown. I think the Board of Trade have done a fantastic report, and they ask us to consider tax relief and grants and occupancy incentives as opposed to, more sort of punitive approaches, right? My favorite one, Patty, and I'll finish with this, is encouraging residential development in underutilized upper floors. Can you imagine to say, look, come on back to my place for a cup of tea. I live at, the top of O'Brien's music store. These are beautiful, beautiful structures. And I think that the city could, take a lead role in helping people refurbish them and putting people in those houses or in those structures downtown. What a great place to live.
It should be. Brenda, I appreciate you making time for the program. Good luck out there.
Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Brenda Halley, running Ward 2. Let's go to Lanarboe and say good morning to an independent candidate running the provincial election in the voting district of Harbour, Maine. That's Clem Whittle. Clem, you're on the air.
Yes, hi, Patty. Just a little correction. Just not independent. It's an interdependent candidate. And as we mentioned before, just specific in the name. And I was actually calling about just making a public service announcement, but your assistant here let me know that it was best to discuss perhaps some of the issues first, right? And so I'm basically, Patty, participating in the election and running with one basic, I suppose, and big reason. And that's what I talked with you about before. And that is to bring awareness to the fact that a lot of people are talking about, democratic reform and all that. And that's exactly what I'm bringing and talking about is changing, the form of government that we have, which is the parliamentary system of government that we're under right now, and which you're probably aware of, which, if you look up the definition of it, is an excuse me, I have a sore throat this morning, and which is an adversarial form of government. And I believe, someone said to me, mention the word evolve, because we need to, in my opinion, Patty, we need to evolve out of the system that we're in, because, if I were to ask most people right now, what would they say is a cause of some of the biggest divisions you can say, in our province, in our country, or even on a bigger level like we see in the U.S., and a lot of it has to do with the type of system that we're under politically, which then brings in, a party system and a partisan politics. And now, sadly, we're seeing this again to the point in another country where people are actually getting killed over this stuff, and so that's the main thing I'm bringing forward. And the slogan, the slogan, not even calling it a campaign, I'm calling it a movement, but the slogan is simple: there is a better way. Now, as they say in recovery, simple but not easy. But the thing is there is, my opinion, from personal experience, from life experience, there is a much better way, Patty, to do this than what we're doing it.
Yeah, it's a messy style of government. It's, people refer to it as the best one we got, but it is messy, and it's the furthest thing from perfect, obviously.
Yeah, Winston Churchill was quoted as saying, he said, democracy is the worst possible form of government, he said, except for all the others. And he could see that it's good, of course, and see. But this form of government that we have, this is what came out of the monarchy system, which was a major step forward. But still, it was pretty much the elites of the time who set it up and so on. And so you still have things in place, like a hierarchy system, like in Canada we have a Prime Minister, in Newfoundland we have a Premier, and all these things. And if you look into the party system, a person at times elected into those, and if they become part of the government, and if they're part of the caucus, that person cannot speak out against, what the Premier brings forward, or that person will have to leave. I'm not sure if he has to leave the caucus or leave the party altogether, And that is not real democracy, Patty. What I'm saying, and I'm not the only one, there's probably thousands here, even in the province, who see things the same way that probably I do. That, we don't need to keep doing things the same way. And, the difficult part, Patty, is, from my point of view anyway, when you know from your life experience that there is a better way, and that we're so stuck in a certain system, so stuck in a paradigm system, and that we almost believe there is no other way. But there is another way. There is a better way.
It's going to require critical mass for things to have any appreciable change, I would suggest. People get, even if they're irritated with or frustrated with the system, people just get a bit too cozy with the status quo, even though that's probably a mistake. Clem, what else would you like to say before I go to the news?
Well, I'd just like to say, somebody asked, apparently asked the Buddha, what did he teach? And he said, I teach suffering and an end to suffering. And I guess when I was hoping that we wouldn't have to get to the point that we've gotten at in parts of the world right now when it comes to what I'll call politics, which is not governing. And so I guess you're absolutely right, Paddy. Absolutely, when you say about it, but it has to start somewhere. About it being done on a larger format, but it has the journey of 1,000 miles, as they say, begins with the first step. And I'm willing, to take that first step. This is not about me. This is about a message. And to share with you, Paddy, the other thing that I called about was that I'm having as many town hall meetings in as many communities in the district of Harbour Main as I possibly can. And so, for instance, tonight there's a town hall meeting at the rec centre next to the ball field in Avondale, and that's going to be from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m., and the topic is There Is a Better Way. And on Friday evenings at 7:30 p.m. to 9:30, September the 19th, which is this Friday, there's a town hall meeting, and it's going to be the same topic, Paddy, and I'm hoping people come out so I can share on a deeper level my ideas, listen to other people's ideas, and beyond shadow of a doubt, I know that when people work together, we can do better.
Clem, I appreciate your time for the show here, and good luck out there.
Thank you so much, Paddy. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take good care. As Clem Whittle running as an interdependent candidate out in Harbour Main. For those of you in the queue, stay right there. We'll get to you after the news. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Tom, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, first-time caller. I'm calling on the MOU.
Okay.
My stand on it should be signed, and I'll tell you the reason why. I don't know, their climate change. I've heard all the ins and outs on it, but nobody spoke on climate change. I don't know if in your way, but out there everything is dried up. Beta Spear, there's one of our probably biggest suppliers. If we get a real cold snap now, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, no rain, we're not going to have no power, they say, right? The river's drying up in there.
The drought conditions are unlike anything I've seen in recent memory anyway.
Right. Churchill Falls down there, the summer spring where we should have had 4 or 5 feet of snow, we had forest fires. So my look at it, if we don't get rain within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be short of power and get a cold snap. There's going to be a lot of cold fingers on the island. And as for there's a lot of politics now going around over this because election coming up, and that's my view on it. I says politics should stay out of it, right? But that's my view. There's nobody speaking on climate change, and if you can contact Hydro sometime and get their view on how low the dams are, and like in Beta Spear, Churchill Falls, all this, see where we stand on water.
It's a good question. I mean, anything that can get us to eventually shut down Holyrood, one of the biggest polluters in the province, one of the biggest polluters in the country, however we get there is a good thing.
Yep.
Now, of course, we've got to be reasonable and rational about how much we spend and where we spend it and why we spend it, but 100%. And climate change gets left out of the conversation a lot, Tom, and I can only speak from my perspective, is for people who don't want to talk about it, every time they hear climate change, all they can think about is carbon tax.
Exactly.
And that just kind of ends the conversation before it gets going.
Right.
Which is unfortunate.
So, it's exactly. So that's my view. That's I just call my view, and you might be able to contact Guy Joe, and they can give you how low the dams are. The reservoir is in Bay de Spear and like Churchill Falls this year, and the Bishop Falls Dam, how low they are, and see where we stand for the winter if we don't get no rain.
Yeah, I can absolutely get an update on water from Newfoundland Labrador Hydro, no problem at all. I mean, we've seen the stories. We've had towns for the first time ever where the wells ran dry, the reservoir dried up in full. So I don't know what the status is on the Churchill River and or at Bay de Spear, but I can absolutely find out.
Yeah, because the rumor is that if it comes cold, that we not have enough power coming out of Bay de Spear, right?
Yeah, I don't know. And at the same time, they're working on adding an 8th generating unit at Bay de Spear, which is interesting, and was a big part of that $1 billion plan to add capacity here. So, yeah, I'll do the follow-up on your behalf, Tom, and talk about it on the show as soon as I get it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, water management, some of those things are absolutely part of this conversation. And I did see an email out of the corner of my eye, and it was in reference to what I said about Gull Island not proceeding unless the Innu Nation says so. And the question was, why does anybody care what the Innu Nation says? It's actually part of the Constitution. And so people can like it or not, but that's the process that's been established by law for a very long time. And the issue there was when the last, what people call rate mitigation package came forward, the $5.2 billion, which was an additional $1 billion loan, additional $1 billion federal loan guarantee, $3.2 billion from the Hibernia revenues. Innu Nation said it cost them about $1 billion. And so unless that is rectified, there will be no Gull. That hasn't been part of the conversation for some bizarre reason, because isn't that one of the linchpins to whether or not Gull actually proceeds? Anyway, let's keep rolling. Let's go to line number 5. Shelley, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Good morning to you.
I'm just calling today to talk about a beautiful little place that my family is from called Chance Cove. And scrolling through some comments about the hiking trail and the beauty of the place and the pictures the other day, I was so disheartened when I seen a comment that said, if you can get down to this beautiful place, or if you don't kill yourself because of the guardrails down there, then it's certainly one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. So my family is originally from there. So I dug a little deeper, and this community, the last time, now I'm aging myself here, that I remember the pavement was put on that road, I was 10 years old, and I'm in my late 50s. And the roads have always been bad, and we've had patchwork. The guardrails have never been upgraded. And it's a dangerous situation now. So here we are with this gem for tourism, and let's not forget the 200 people that still reside there having to deal with rotten guardrails. Water supply is just a whole other issue. And the roads, you can't even get to the community. Where is everybody? We're in the middle of an election, but I don't hear many people calling and saying, look, don't forget us.
Fair enough. When you say the guardrails have been upgraded, so you made some mention of what exactly is the issue with the guardrails?
The guardrails, Patty, they have rusted out over time. Literally, they are hanging off. It is extremely dangerous to try to walk on the little bit of side of road that you have between the pavement running through the community and to get down to this beautiful beach area that we have there, which is absolutely one of the most scenic places in Newfoundland. And it's literally dangerous now to walk on the sides of the road there. So that's not acceptable. These are taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean, guardrails are a safety issue, plain and simple.
Very much so. And we have a lot of tourism now where I see comments, and it hurts me because I see all these people say, oh, it was so beautiful, that hiking trail, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, and the beautiful pictures that are posted. And then there comes this warning, but you might not get down to it because you might not have a car left, or be careful because you might not get to that beautiful beach because the guardrails there, it's dangerous. You can't even walk on the side of the road. You can't take pictures. Come on.
Yeah. So just for clarification, why is it that you can't walk on the side of the road? Why the shoulders have gone by the wayside, or what's the walking concern?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, because it's just, we've always just had like 2 lanes. We're lucky to get 2 cars being able to pass on the roadway, and then just this little strip of gravel on the side of the road and a guardrail beside it. So you might get one person being able to walk on what we call the shoulder of the road and get access down to the beach area and a place called Greenhead and so on. And, I mean, the pictures are there to see, for all to see, that they're rusted away, they've literally fallen off in some cases. I mean, it's a safety issue. And, Patty, there's no car that can withstand trying to get down to that beautiful little community. There's just no way.
Understood.
And this is what we're dealing with.
I'm sorry, anything else you'd like to add this morning?
No, this is what we're dealing with. And I'm out of the loop because now I'm living in a different area, but I still love to try to get back there. I'd like for whoever is responsible, the council's done their best. Now it's time for whoever's responsible, step up. Let's not forget this place. It's too precious. It's a precious resource. Tourism, that's what we're trying to promote here.
Fair enough.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, a lot of areas of the province feel neglected or ignored. There's no doubt about that. I appreciate your time, Shelley. Final break of the morning. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's take that break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 4. Say good morning to Paul Toomey, running for council down in Torbay. Paul, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning?
Not too bad at all. How about you?
Good. I'm great, Patty. I won't keep you long. Main reason for me calling this morning, the major priority that I've listed in my platform to run for council is securing a water solution that opens up Torbay's potential. And, of course, that ties to development. And I think we're hearing more and more every day from all communities in this province about the serious impacts of drought this year and the lack of water. So it clearly has to be a priority. The impact it has on development, and I've been asked this by a number of residents of Torbay already, where do I stand on large-scale development? And I guess my answer is we need a secure water supply before we can do any large-scale development within the town. And that ties back to the ability of the town to have enough money to be able to operate and keep taxes reasonable. So it's all tied together. And I just wanted to assure residents that it will be a priority for me to look at the water supply and look how we can create a sustainable water supply that will allow us to develop in a measured and a reasonable manner. And that's the message I did want to send out. The only other thing I wanted to mention relates to transportation. There is a public session this evening at the town hall talking about a regional transportation system. And I'd certainly encourage all residents to attend that session and hear what's being proposed, because we're pretty close to the city of St. John's, and a lot of people just don't have the means to travel, not only in our area, but also back and forth to the city. So the need for a regional transportation system that extends to the Torbay area and the entire Killick Coast, for that matter, is critically important. This is an important session this evening to get public input, and I'd certainly say to residents, you should come, hear what's being proposed, and see what we can do to get something moving in this area.
Paul, hasn't some of the water issues been in some form dealt with some of the federal investment coming into Torbay regarding water?
Well, hopefully it will be, but you have to remember, Patty, that a lot of that relates to getting the infrastructure in the ground. And while my understanding, and again, I'm not on council, and it's something that I want to learn about when I get there, that there is a $27-28 million investment to get a water system going. I guess there's a couple of things to that. Number one, I don't know if that's enough money to do what we actually need. So I'm hearing numbers of upwards of $9 million additional that's needed. So a new council is going to have to find creative ways to come up with that money. But at the same time, keep in mind that you can't burden the taxpayers with a $9 million investment. Because after all, we're a town of 8,000 people. We're not a city like St. John's. So we have to look at all of those options. Number two, there's a lot of issues with contamination that have to be dealt with as well, and that's being addressed as a separate issue, I know, through civil suits, etc. But it's still within the community of Torbay, and people living in those areas deserve access to reasonable water as well. So there's a lot of complicated issues here that have to be dealt with, and if I'm fortunate enough to be elected as a councillor, I intend to put a lot of my energy into working towards those solutions. And I guess the final thing, Patty, is that regardless if the money is there or not, these are not solutions that are going to happen overnight. It's going to take a 4 or 5 year planning period at least to do that.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to know exactly where we are with the contaminated wells as well. Now, I know because there's been a class action lawsuit launched, we're probably not going to hear much about it, even though we should, and we need to have some information here. I don't even know why it requires a lawsuit, given the fact that it is clearly the fault of the federal government here to not have cleaned up all those chemicals where they were doing firefighting exercises at the federally regulated airport.
I would totally agree with you on that, Patty. And in addition to the issue with the citizens, and I understand that this problem is still growing. The total area that's defined by this issue is still being investigated. So we don't know where this issue is going to end. But I totally agree with you. The federal government has to get involved. The federal government has to put the money there to find that solution. And perhaps that's part of where the overall solution for water in Torbay is required. Because don't forget, that area that's impacted right now also covers a lot of the area for industrial development. And the development of business and industry within the town is an important element to keeping residential taxes low and acceptable to people.
100%. Appreciate the time, Paul. Anything else this morning?
No, Patty, the only thing is I would remind people in Torbay who are not going to be able to vote on October the 2nd that the advance poll is tomorrow from 8 to 8 at the Torbay Common. So if you can't vote on the 2nd or you want to get your voting done early, tomorrow is advance polling day in the town of Torbay, as I'm sure it is in many communities around the province.
Appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. It's Paul Toomey, running for council down Torbay. Let's go to line number 6. Marg, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Good morning to you.
There was a lady called your show last week looking for a powered wheelchair.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know if she got one or not, but I have one for sale, plus a scooter.
Okay.
And I left my number at the desk there, and if she's listening and want to call and get my number and give me a call.
Absolutely. I'm sure myself or Dave can check through the call list and find that caller. I'll follow up with her to see if she got what she needed. No problem.
Okay, thanks. And have a good day, Patty.
You too. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's keep rolling here. Line number 1. Marianne, you're on the air.
Yes. Good day, Patty.
Good day.
I just wanted to call to send a big bouquet out to Dave Moore. I lost my wallet Sunday after getting groceries. My God, I drove all the way home to Holyrood and realized I haven't got no wallet. I called No Frills, and they were looking everywhere for it, and no sign of it, and nobody called it in. You talk about panic. Oh, my God. Anyway, I said to my husband, I'll run back now, I said, and I think I'll have a look around the parking lot because I might have dropped it. We're up at groceries in the trunk. Goes back out, or goes back, no sign of it. Goes in and asks the girls, and they said no, but nobody phoned about it. And there was a man stood up to my left, and he said, "Are you the lady who gave me the basket?" And I looked at him, I said, "Yes, sir, that's me." And he opened up a little bag, and here was my wallet. Well, you talk about happy, Patty. He made my day. He really did. And he said, "Girl, I tried to find a phone number for you. I couldn't find any phone number for you." And but anyway, he brought it back safe and sound.
There's still some good people out there.
Oh, my God, Patty, he made my day. And you know something? He was he was awesome. I mean, at that point, I was nearly in tears. panicking kind of thing. And when he opened up the little bag and there was my wallet, I tell you, it made my day. And I said to him, Dave, I couldn't thank you enough, but I have to tell you something. I said, when you do good, good comes back to you tenfold. So I told him a little story about me when I found money down to the Hong Kong bank, and it was a chunk of money. And I called Pete Susie because I turned it into the police, and I called Pete at the time, and he said, how much money was in it? And I said, I can't disclose that. But the RNC said to me, if they don't come, because there was no name, it was just in an envelope, a bank envelope. He said, if they don't come back for it, it's yours in 3 months. So a couple of months went by, and I called about it, and guess what? Because I reported it on the Open Line show, and where I picked it up, the man actually got his money back.
Good. Terrific.
So that was awesome. Anyway, kiddo, thank you very much for taking my call.
Happy to do it, Marianne. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Oops, a little quick on the trigger there. Yeah, still good people out there. As much as the stories of doom and gloom and woe is me kind of dominate the headlines, I, for one, really appreciate it when someone shares something like that, because how many people out there, you know, given their struggles and maybe just given their mindset, pick up a bit of money or pick up a wallet with a few shekels in it. Next thing you know, they're tapping your credit card and they got your money in their pocket. Anyways, checking on the Twitter box. We're VOCM Open Line. You can follow us there. People are still asking me if I know the source of the smell of the fuel that's hanging over Metro. I don't know if Sarah, does anyone in the newsroom know anything about that? No? Thumbs down. They don't know. You know, people are suggesting that maybe it's a tanker that's offloading down in the harbour, what have you. I have no earthly idea, but it sure did stink earlier. Not sure how bad it is now. All right, good show today. Big thank you to all hands, all the callers, listeners, emailers, and tweeters. You're all right. We will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.
Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full up front. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.